Good afternoon. I am Christy Luna, a first year student at UNID, and I am in my third semester. Today, I will be interviewing Daniel Luna, and he will be sharing some of his experiences and knowledge as a psychologist. This interview will also be recorded for academic purposes. So, first of all, please, if you could tell me about yourself, your age, personal information.
Okay, good afternoon. Um, my name is Daniel Luna, and I am a retired teacher. I am also a counselor with a degree in psychology. Um, I am 61 years old, and I am happily married with my wife, Patricia Luna, with three children who are all above 18 years old.
And where are you from originally?
Okay, I was born and grew yes, grew here in Orange Walk all my life.
Okay, and to start off, can you please tell me about the reason why you chose to study psychology?
Okay, um, our community has grown from the time that I was a teenager, but I have gotten to know the place where I live and where I have spent all my life in such a way that I have seen certain instances where um, there are a variety of problems, including drug use, drug trafficking, and also because I have been a teacher and a counselor, I have met instances where both students, teachers, and the community at large need very much the the assistance of anybody in the helping profession. I've been a teacher for all my life, which is about 37 years old. And because of my observations as a teacher and as a counselor and as a psychologist, I know that the problems that exist in my community um, would do very well with somebody that is a psychologist and in the helping profession.
And we're both from Belize, and what do you think about the whole stigma surrounding people with mental illnesses?
Well, I think that people that have mental illnesses have been misunderstood, and there have been various misnomers. In other words, they have been named various names that are not professionally, uh, I would say, professional nomenclature. In other words, professional naming. Um, I say that people with mental illnesses have been misunderstood because beginning from the fact that mental illnesses have been attributed to the unknown, to the magical, to the superstitious. Um, so mental illnesses have been misunderstood um, for a while. Stigma, lots of it, because first of all, even myself, as I grew, whenever somebody was classified within the community as crazy with commas, um, people would be afraid to go around them. People would not want to be seen around them because then if you're around them, you would also be kind of classified as maybe you're crazy too. Um, because people with mental illnesses have behaviors that are not understood by the layman, people are afraid for their own safety, and therefore they have neglected to give the proper care and attention to people that suffer from a wide range of mental illnesses, which now I understand. Now that I'm a professional in that field.
Yeah, I agree. I've also heard that people say, I don't want to go to the psychologist, I don't want to go see a therapist because they're afraid, people might say
Yes.
I'm crazy. Like people that go there are crazy.
Yes, and this is what you have touched a good point there, because as you might know, I help people with a variety of problems, beginning from marital dysfunctions, suicidal tendencies, and less dangerous mental afflictions. And at one point, everybody was telling me, "Okay, why don't you put your place?" And I had everything ready. The name of the place, the name was Eclipse Crisis Counseling Center, and I did not put it for the simple fact that I began to understand that there is a stigma when it comes to people that seek help. They are labeled as crazy. In Spanish, there was a client that came to me and said, I my parents convinced me to come and see you, and I feel very good about the work that you're doing, the help that you're giving me. I don't care if my friends tell me that I am going to see El Loquero. And so because of that stigma, um, what people see is that different kinds of people go and visit our house, but nobody knows what is the real reason. And then I am able to help these people without any stigma um, affecting them.
Well, that's good then. And since I'm a student currently studying psychology, I have to ask, how was your experience during your studies?
How, please repeat that question.
How was your experience while you were studying psychology?
Well, to be frank, I cannot say anything more than my experience was a wonderful experience, because to begin with, I had this unease in which I wanted to find somewhere where I could train myself better to to be able to serve the people where I live. And I met some little obstacles. I am a musician at my church, and when I was going, my priest said, "Why are you going to study right now? We need you here right now to help in the church." And he says, "You can go and study afterwards." I said, "No, I want to go and study right now. I'm sorry, but this is my time, and serving my people, I can serve my people better if I train myself more." And then the guy looked at me, the priest, and he says, "Okay, I understand that." Then um, the thing that happened is that because there's a saying that says, if you look for it, you will find it. That can work both positively and negatively, because if you look for negative things, you will find negative things. But also conversely, if you look for good things, you will also find them. And that is what happened with me. I was looking for an avenue to study. I applied. And to be frank, I applied about 4 or 5 times at that same place. And on the last time and each time I was told, "Oh, you're doing quite well in the interview, and we will call you." But they never called. And so the last time that I applied, and they told me the same thing, I didn't believe it when I got a call that said, "You will be leaving in September for your studies in psychology." And so from that moment on, I can see that from the moment I got that news, everything that happened after that I enjoyed. And that is what I tell all my children. You're going to choose something that you like, enjoy every day of it. I enjoyed from when they gave me my ticket to go, when I got into the plane, when I flew out. I enjoyed when I reached. I enjoyed when I met the people. I enjoyed. What happened is that everything was, God was good with me because economically, my family did not have the money to send me out. On the expense was going to be too big. And so the U.S. government had this scholarship program instituted in the Caribbean Basin Initiative by Dr. Henry Kissinger, and that was a kind of a goodwill gesture by the United States to to try to show the world that they were doing something good. So I was fortunate that I got that scholarship. I reached and they took me to Washington. They took me all over the place, and they introduced me to people that would be working in the profession of psychology and counseling. Then I reached to my university and the enrollment, the classes, the friends, the work, everything was total enjoyment for me. Nothing was, even the late nights when we had to study and when I we ate pizza for the whole 2 years that I was studying at night when we were hungry. I developed a taste for pizza. That was the quickest thing. And then we were doing psychology. We were doing, even when we had to do a class of anatomy and physiology with the doctors, and we had to we had to be with a corpse. I even that I enjoyed, kind of a morbid, but I enjoyed every class. And when the thing reached to an end, I also enjoyed coming back home because I knew that I had accomplished, I knew that I was ready and prepared to to use what I knew in my home setting.
Well, I think that's a chance that I think most of us wish we could get. Like you say that you had a great experience, but I know probably they had at least one thing that didn't go your way. So, what would you say was probably your biggest challenge while you were pursuing your degree in psychology?
Well, it's very hard for me to find a biggest challenge. Maybe I can say that out of all the good things because I knew my purpose why I was there. I knew that I was not going to stay there forever. And even when it comes to friendships and so on, I knew that when I finished, I would need to leave. So, but I think my biggest challenge, I grew in a family where, with my mom and my dad, where I felt very much when I had to leave them, and I knew that I would not be back for 2 years. But anyway, I came back in between, so that was a good thing. But I always kept in contact with them. But so I would say that maybe that was my biggest challenge. But I overcame that because as soon as I reached, I decided I'm not going to be sad. I'm not going to. I heard that one of my people that had been there in Minnesota, I started in Minnesota, had cabin fever and was crying all over the place. And I thought, well, I'm not going to be crying for nothing, man. I know why I'm here, and for me, crying is out. So I made friends, and I had to say this way. I deliberately used the company of friends to make sure that I do not suffer those lows, where you feel like you just want to go back home because you miss it so much. I never did feel that way. I had good reason to be there. My parents were expectant that I would do good. My people back home were expectant. And so probably the only biggest challenge that I had was that I I grew very attached to my family, to my mother and my father, and probably that would have been it. But when it comes to coursework, that was not a challenge for me because I need to be very plain about that. Failing was not in my vocabulary, and failing was not an option. And so that is how it went.
Yeah, as long as you have a purpose. And you know the reason why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. And you see, it was easy for me to go off course, because I was I went in my junior year. In other words, it's like if I had already gone 2 years and now I was going to my junior, and then the second year of my being there would be my senior year. And so I I had a purpose. I had a purpose for being there, and I was focused. It was easy to go off track, I was saying, because meanwhile I was there focusing on studying. My friends were people that just came out of high school in the United States, some of them, and they came to knock at my door on Monday and Tuesday because they wanted to go and have some beers. And they would knock the door until they got tired, and I would pretend I was not there. But on Fridays and Saturdays, I would go to the Albatross, which was a club right there in the university, and we would overdo the beers. But that was Friday and Saturday. But when Sunday came, it's back to work, and I don't care which little young people were running about like children and throwing snowballs at each other during winter and whatnot. That was not for me. I did my work, and I shouldn't say that was not for me, because when I did my work and it was finished, I would come out and I would throw snowballs at that. We would play snowball war too. So I didn't. Like as I said, maybe one of my biggest challenges was overcoming any kind of um, depression that people would suffer. I didn't feel any depression. Sometimes I like, for example, for birthdays and so on, you feel a little bit a little bit down, but no, it wasn't that bad. I was enjoying totally my studies, and even the coursework, even the projects, the late nights, the hardships or whatever, if there was any. Enjoyed everything.
Well, it's great that you made the most out of that experience that was given to you.
Yep.
And as a student here, I've heard a lot of friends when we were introducing ourselves, they asked us, why is it that you chose to study psychology? And then some of them, more than one, said, I used to suffer from anxiety, or I used to have my own problems myself. So that's the reason why I chose to study psychology. What's your opinion on people who study psychology in attempt to help with their personal issues?
It's not totally wrong, but it's not the best reason or motivating factor for getting into a branch of studies. I guess the best motivation that you can get is that of doing something, not only to help yourself, but to help somebody else, to help other people. The biggest satisfaction that I have ever gotten is when a client, I can see a client wean himself or herself away from me as the counselor, as the psychologist, and live successfully reintegrated into the community, overcoming their problems and being able to devise new coping strategies by themselves, because that is about what I, as a psychologist or counselor, am. I am not supposed to create any dependency. I supposed to try to get them to discover how they can solve their problems by discovering that they are competent enough to devise their own coping strategies. And if that is done, that is a success. And I have been successful. And you cannot imagine what a good feeling that is.
I completely agree. And what advice would you give to someone that is interested in studying or pursuing a career in psychology?
Well, I have to drop back in the same question that you said. It whilst the motivation of helping other people is good, we we still have inside us a little question that says, I want to know why I do things I do. I want to know why I am the way that I am. And for you to be able to successfully assist other people, in turn, you need to understand and know your own self as completely as possible. So I am saying then that in order for um for us to be able to do a good job, um, we have to understand our own selves first. Once we understand ourselves first and we resolve and we discover our own setbacks, our own things that can prejudice our function as a psychologist, then we can move into now being able to, you understand yourself and now you can understand others. So what
Ex-
your I think I kind of deviated a little bit. Did I answer that your question, or can you rephrase the question again? Because I feel I kind of deviated a little bit.
For the question, including the previous question, because I asked for you to give advice to anyone who was considering studying psychology or pursuing a career in psychology, and you mentioned something that was really important, the fact that you need to focus on helping other people. That's your main focus as a psychologist too.
Mhm. Well, I would say that for you um, to successfully do a good job as a psychologist, um, you need to like what you're doing. You need to understand yourself. And advice for people that want to go into the helping profession, into psychology, man, there is nothing greater than discovering your own self, discovering why you are the way that you are. And it's not like somebody in a plane once told me. Even people that like Americans that we think that, oh, they are so intelligent, they're people that understand things more than us. Maybe no, it's not like that. I was in a plane going from Miami to Washington, and then there was this American young lady, I'd say maybe about 24, 25 years. And we were talking, and she said, oh, you're from Belize and so on. And then the question came, what are you doing in the United States? Oh, I'm studying. Where are you studying? Oh, I'm studying at Minnesota. And then the big question, what are you studying in Minnesota? Oh, I'm studying psychology. Then she turned around, looked at me, and she says, do you know what I'm thinking? And that is a totally big misunderstanding. Psychologists cannot know exactly what somebody else is thinking, but we can have a very good idea of the frame of mind that a person is, because psychology is such a profession, enjoyable profession. You have a thing that is called haptics, kinesis, body language, in which a person says more than what they say with words when you see them and when they don't talk. So it's not like a psychologist will know what a person is thinking, but just by watching a person and their body language, you will have a very good idea of a lot of things that the person does not know that you will know when you are trained. So psychology is a magnificent um, a, um, area of study. There are more things that are being developed from day to day, and even myself, I cannot stay stagnant. I have to continue reading publications when it comes to the different areas in psychology. And I totally encourage anybody that you will never regret if you study psychology and you get into the helping profession also.
Thank you so much for sharing that information. This interview has come to an end, and I again thank you so much for your time and for sharing your personal experiences.
You're welcome and good luck in your studies.
Okay. Thank you.